Okay, so I read all the comics and I have questions. Hey freaks, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is JJ, and here on my channel I discuss the stories behind rock and metal concept albums. But if you're watching this video, you probably already know that, and hopefully you are all caught up on the rest of the Coheed and Cambria Amory Wars storyline. Hopefully you've seen part 1 of this video and you're now ready for part 2. So issue 12 just dropped last week and I'm very excited to talk about this story. We are doing part 2 of New World for Tomorrow, which is the final installment of the Amory Wars comics, at least for this canon of the story. Of course, we have the Vax's storyline that takes place years later. But anyway, we get a lot of answers in this one. We are finally reached the ending that we've been waiting for since, when did this album come out? 2007, I want to say. So yeah, it's been a number of years, so I'm very excited we finally get the answers that we've always been wanting. And I'm also really excited because this has explained things from this has explained lyrics from like Good Apollo and Burning Star 4, like lyrics that I've always been a little bit confused about how they relate to the story, and you know what they mean. There's answers in these comics, which I'm so excited about. So of course I always encourage all of you to read the comics for yourselves. I will drop links down in the description for you to buy the comics. If you haven't read them yet, but you plan to, please click away from this video because it's going to have all the spoilers. So again, yeah, I always encourage all of you to read the comics for yourself. This video is just for us to discuss, or if you have no intention of reading the comics for yourself. Before we get started, make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already, and I also invite you to join my Metalhead community. Link is down in the description, and it's totally free, and from there you get access to bonus content and a monthly newsletter from me. Anyway, let's get into this. Of course, I will be talking about the comics, issues number 9 through 12, which I believe cover the end complete sections at the end of the album. And the storyline, like last we left off, prior to this, you know, Chase and Claudio were going to Star 7 in the past to seek out Coheed and Cambria, and Claudio got bitten by one of the flies just before they went through the Willing Well, and on the other side of the Willing Well they find Coheed all monstered out and, you know, about to battle Cambria, who has been activated by the monster virus. Now, in these next few comics, or these next few issues, Claudio is able to get his parents to come back to themselves, you know, come back from the what the monster virus has done to them, and he and Chase fill them in on all that has been going on in the future, and Coheed and Cambria agree to help. So the problem is, however, that since they are recruiting Coheed and Cambria from the past, they need a way to reignite Star 7 so that they don't change things in the future, because I think we're going with the Back to the Future method of time travel here, where like if you change things in the past, then things change in the future. So they're talking about ways to remedy this when the monster virus certainly starts to take effect on Claudio, and he kind of, you know, gets really ill-feeling, and then Chase suddenly falls through the Willing Well. So Chase arrives on the other side of the Willing Well and meets with Dr. Hogenberger. Well, she doesn't really meet with him. She spies Dr. Hogenberger. And Dr. Hogenberger, if you remember, he is from the Year of the Black Rainbow timeline. So he is the creator. He's the one who created Coheed and Cambria. And so Chase arrives at his lab at a time when he was constructing Coheed and Cambria, and we see him asleep on his desk, and a prize arrives and places this glowing blue containment unit on the doctor's desk while he's sleeping. Chase then returns back to Claudio and Coheed and Cambria, and she reveals that she now realizes that Cambria has been built using prize DNA. So then Claudio, Chase, Coheed and Cambria, lots of C names in this one, they fall through the Willing Well and arrive on Apody Prime outside of House Atlantic. Claudio is very ill, suffering from the effects of the fly sting. Meanwhile, Ryan is draining the leftover energy from Ambelina's body to increase his power. So now that we're all caught up on the storyline, we go into track 9, the end complete part 1, the fall of House Atlantic. Okay, so this song, I believe, is about General Crom. Now, I haven't mentioned him in my past video because he was kind of his story was kind of spliced in throughout the issues, and I wasn't sure where it was leading. But throughout the previous issues of the comic, we got a bunch of flashback sequences where we learned that General Crom was a general for a different mage back before the time of the Mage Wars, and Ryan ended up killing his old master. And so General Crom finally has this leap of faith that we've been building up to in this set of comics, and he reveals his allegiance to his old master and prays for his forgiveness before sacrificing himself to destroy House Atlantic by releasing keywork energy and turning House Atlantic into this giant transformer robot. So Coheed and Cambria, Chase, and Claudio fight the Red Army and General Crom as this giant House Atlantic robot. But then Crom, as the transformer robot, is confronted by Ryan, and Ryan ends up blowing him up. And Ryan reveals himself as this kind of crazy chimerian creature with these newly unlocked powers which he has siphoned from Ambelina's body. So he's this new powerful entity. We're not sure exactly what he can do, but he is definitely more powerful than he was previously. And that takes us to track 10, The End Complete, Part 2, Radio Bye Bye. I've always wondered what this song was about. And now this, of course, all of this song interpretation is my own personal opinion, but I believe this song is about Inferno. Okay, so walk with me here. We last left off with Mayo/Inferno explaining to Dr. Duvine that he is not actually Mayo, despite being in Mayo Defton Wolf's body. He explains that he is Inferno, the leader of the rebellion, and so Duvine ends up believing him. And he even reveals to Inferno that years ago he did testing on the dead bodies of Coheed and Cambria's children. And their oldest child, Josephine, wasn't born, but she was created by Dr. Hogenberger, just like Coheed and Cambria were as iRobots. So samples from Josephine's DNA contain this strange antiviral property, put there by Dr. Hogenberger himself as an antidote to the monster virus. So that was kind of his backdoor little secret thing that he added to Josephine just in case, because of course Hogenberger was coerced into creating the monster virus in the first place. Anyway, Dr. Duvine reveals that he has secretly been working on something. He tells Mayo/Inferno that he used the properties of Josephine's DNA to create this special antidote serum. And now this serum doesn't keep people from dying from the fly sting. However, it does set their souls free in the afterlife. So the only problem is, he has no way of bringing this antidote to the keywork. He needs someone to bring the serum directly into the keywork, which will be a suicide mission. And so Inferno, of course, volunteers for this suicide mission, but just as he's about to depart, the WolfCon team ends up showing up. So the WolfCon team attack Mayo/Inferno, and of course Al the Killer is there to, wreak havoc. And Al explains how his upgrades were created by Dr. Archmaker using tech that Archmaker developed to fix Mayo, which Al then claims makes them like brothers. So this finally answers a bunch of questions that I've had about Good Apollo and Burning Star 4, the song The Telling Truth. I'm probably going to do a live stream doing a deep dive into each of the albums lyric by lyric, but finally we have answers. Anyway, getting back on track here. Mayo/Inferno narrowly escapes Al and then sets off on his mission. And we learn that the virus that Ryan created has taken over almost all the planets, turning the keywork red. Inferno then sacrifices himself by crashing the antidote into the keywork in the name of the rebellion and his lost love, Mariah. And so a war then begins between the red infected souls of the keywork and the blue entities of the keywork. So, of course, that ties into what we just learned in the most recent Baxis release, but more on that later. Track 11, The End Complete, Part 3, The End Complete. We then go back to the battlefield with Claudio, Chase, Coheed and Cambria. Ryan, in his new form, confronts the gang, and we learn his plans are to merge the power of the Willing Well with the keywork power to then unite the dead souls of the people under Heaven's fence in subservience to him. So this huge battle ensues. Claudio grabs hold of his powers, but Ryan is still winning until Chase wakes up. She's been knocked out. She wakes up and she realizes that since Cambria has prize DNA in her, that also means that Claudio does too. So Chase then combines her powers with Claudio and grabs onto Ambelina's body, and together they bring back the prize. The prize smite Ryan and bring him to his knees. And I know what you're wondering, like, is Ambelina back? Of course Ambelina's back. She's back. She's come back to life, and she is with her wings and everything. It's beautiful, magical moment. And she explains that, you know, no gods are watching now, and it's up to the prize to do what is best for Heaven's Fence. And they decide that they are going to put their trust in Claudio, who is the crowing, who is, you know, the one that they are supposed to follow. And it's Claudio's turn to pick the road. So Claudio explains that the keywork is too dangerous a weapon, and if it's not Ryan exploiting it for nefarious reasons, it will just be someone else. And being that everyone on Heaven's Fence is already dead or doomed to die thanks to the virus that Ryan unleashed, Claudio decides that the best course of action is to end it all, the keywork, and subsequently everyone on Heaven's Fence. So Claudio then kills Ryan once and for all, and we are then taken into track 12, The End Complete, part 4, The Road and the Damned. So this song, I believe, is a lover's goodbye song about Claudio to Ambelina, as well as Coheed and Cambria to each other. So everyone supports Claudio's decision to end the worlds. And I think this is Coheed and Cambria, you know, saying goodbye to each other, wishing that they could go back and change the past, but kind of accepting what they must do next. With a sad but determined acceptance, Coheed and Cambria decide that there's no more time to think about it, and they take the syringe that Chase saved and turn into the weapons that they were always intended to be, the White Ruiner and the Monstar. Before this, Claudio says goodbye to his parents, and then he must say goodbye to Ambelina. So Ambelina is this woman, this one that got away for him, I think. We get the sense that he is sort of mourning the love story that they almost had, but never had the opportunity to explore. And all he can do now is be happy that, you know, he can see her one last time and thank her for saving him once again. So then, once all the goodbyes are said, Claudio then asks Chase to drive him home one last time through the Willing Well. And to our 13th and final track, The End Complete, part 5, On the Brink. So Ryan's evil red soul ascends to the keywork after he dies, and he is pretty upset to find that his work is being undone by, you know, the antidote. So the red monster entities are changing back into the blue benevolent entities thanks to Inferno's sacrifice and Dr. Duvine's antidote. So the blue souls then recognize Ryan, and they all descend upon him. Whether or not they actually annihilate Ryan is unclear, but if you ask me, I think we have not seen the last of Ryan, and maybe we've already seen him in the Vaxis storyline. I don't know. We'll find out. Anyway, here is where things get a little bit confusing. Okay, so I read this ending and I have questions. I don't understand. Okay. Come with me for a second. Coheed and Cambria, alongside the prize, fly off to reignite Star 7. I think. The past repeats itself in a way in that, like, Cambria kills Coheed, and in a very Romeo and Juliet fashion, she falls on her own blade and dies, which then sets the star ablaze, which then sets off a chain reaction, destroying the worlds, I think. Claudio and Chase arrive somewhere in space looking down upon the keywork and watching everything die. Chase is very weak. You know, she's created all these willing wells, and she's grown weaker and weaker each time, and now she seems to be at the end of her rope. She seems like she's gonna die in Claudio's arms when she has a sudden epiphany. She stabs Claudio in the chest with the syringe, which then transforms him into this monster, which ends up being his final form and full transition into the crowing. This culmination brings him into his full power, and the Gaunsguard prophecy comes to fruition as Claudio's power pulls the planets of Heaven's Fence into him, and he transforms into a black hole. This black hole and the whole of Heaven's Fence is then sucked into the other side of the door of the open Willing Well. So, we have an ending. We have a very satisfying ending. This ending ties into the storyline picked up by the Vaxis albums, i.e. the red and blue entities of the keywork, everything that we just discovered in the Vaxis 3 storyline. It's all there. But like I said, I still have questions. I read this second half of issue number 12 a dozen times, and I need some help, y'all. If any of you have read the comics, especially issue 12, and are very familiar with it and feel like you fully understand what happened, please let me know in the comments. Please explain. Okay. I feel like maybe it's intentionally meant to be a little bit ambiguous as far as like what the things that are happening. I understand Claudio turning into the black hole and, swallowing all of Heaven's fence. That's a weird sentence, but I understand that part. What I'm not sure about is Coheed and Cambria and Star 7, at least what I think is Star 7. What exactly happened there and what happened? What happened? I also really don't understand the prize's role in all of this. I know they had a role. I don't quite understand what it was that they did. They did something. Also, we get like one single panel of Ryan's soul in the keywork, and it seems like he recognizes one of the entities that is about to attack him. And we're left there. Like, I'm pretty sure that's just like something that's left open-ended that's going to be picked up in the Vaxis storyline. But that's still a big question mark in my notes. And then we get to the epilogue of sorts with these two people looking up at the stars, and then it's like the end. I'm like, who are these two people? What world are we on? Are we on like real Earth world? Are these characters that we're going to meet later on? What? Someone please help me understand. I don't know. Am I just dumb or just I don't know. So if you have read the comics and you get what's happening, please let me know. Like I said. Anyway, yeah, it's so fulfilling to finally get to the end of the story and then just see all the little nods to like other lyrics and the connection to the next Vaxis storyline. It's very satisfying. It's very fun finding all these Easter eggs. It's a great comic. Anyway, like I really suggest that you guys all read it, if only to help me out figure out what happened in the end, because I don't understand. But anyway, there you have it. That is my personal interpretation of how the End Complete songs relate to the storyline. Of course, you may have different opinions. Please drop all of that down in the comments. I'm hoping to do a live stream here in the next week or so, doing a deep dive of Vaxis 3, The Father of Make-Believe, going song by song, lyric by lyric, and talking about how each lyric relates to parts of the story and or parts of the band's history and Claudio's personal life. So I'll be doing that, and I do want to go through every single one of the Coheed albums and just go line by line, talk about how each lyric relates to the story, how it relates to other things, and just chat with you guys in the comments about what you guys think, what your personal interpretation is of certain lyrics. So I'll be doing that soon. I can't say an exact date, but it's going to be soon in the next week or so. So join me for my live stream. I'll try and put out a notification a few days, a day or so beforehand, letting you know what time that will be. But I think it'll be fun because I'm starting with the most recent release, and I'm not sure what I'm gonna do after that, but I might go in reverse chronological order, and we can I don't know, we can take it to a vote, we can chat. Anyway, sorry, I'm blathered on for way too long in this video, but I hope you enjoyed my interpretation, and thank you in advance for all of your comments and your support. Make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already, and join me in my Metalhead community. Link is in the description, and it's totally free. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Till next time.